Hello and welcome. Today we are going to discuss chapter 3 titled as Ruling the Countryside from your class 8 NCERT textbook. So how the company become the divans and grant of divani and financial powers. So let's get started. On 12 August 1765, the Mughals Imperial appointed the East India Company as the divans of Bengal. The actual event most probably took place in Robert Clifton with a few Englishmen and Indians as witnesses. As the divans, the company became the chief financial administrator of the territory under its control. Now it had to think of administering the land and organizing its revenues, resources. This had to be done in a way that could yield enough revenues to meet the growing expenses of the company. A trading company had also to ensure that it could buy the product it needed and sell what it wanted. Growth of revenues. The company had become the divans, but it still saw its primarily as a traders. It wanted a large revenues income but was unwilling to set up any regular system of assessment and collection. The effort was to increase the revenue as much as it could and buy fine cotton and silk cloth as cheaply as possible. Within 5 years, the value of goods bought by the company in Bengal doubles. Before 1865, the company had purchased goods in India by importing gold and silver from Britain. Now, the revenue collected in Bengal could finance the purchase of goods for export. Soon it was clear that the Bengal economy was facing a deep crisis. Artisans were deserting villages since they were being demanded high demand from them. Artisan production was in decline and agricultural cultivation showed sign of collapse. Then in 1770, a terrible famine killed tens of millions of people in Bengal. About 1/3 of the population was wiped out. Next, permanent settlement. To improve agriculture and to improve investment in land, the company finally introduced permanent settlement in 1793. By the time the settlement, the Rajas and Talukdars were recognized as Zamindar. They were asked to collect rent from the peasant and pay revenue to the company. The amount to be paid was fixed permanently, that is, it was not to be increased ever in future. It was felt that this could ensure a regular flow of revenues into the company coffer and at the same time encourage the Zamindar to invest in improving the land. Since the revenue demand of the state would not be increased, the Zamindar would benefit from increased production from the land. So this system was introduced by, that is, permanent settlement was introduced by Lord Cornwallis. He was the Governor General of India. Then next, the problem of permanent settlement. The permanent settlement, however, created problems. Company officers soon discovered that Zamindars were in fact not investing in improvement of land. The revenue that had been fixed was so high that the Zamindar found it difficult to pay. Anyone who failed to pay the revenue lost his Zamindari. Numerous Zamindaris were sold off at auctions organized by the company. The prices in the market rose and cultivation slowly expanded. This means an increase in the income of Zamindar but no gain from the company since it could not increase the revenues demand that had been fixed permanently. On the other hand, in the village, the cultivator found the system extremely oppressive. The rent he paid to the Zamindar was high and his right on the land was insecure. To pay the rent, he had to often take a loan from the moneylender, and when he failed to pay the rent, he was evicted from the land he had cultivated for generations. Next, Marwari settlement. So Marwari, let us see Marwari settlement in the northwestern provinces of the Bengal presidency. Most of this area is now in UP. An Englishman called Hor Mackenzie devised the new system, which came into effect in 1822. He felt that the villages was an important social institution in North Indian society and needed to be preserved. Under his directions, collectors went from village to village, inspecting the land, measuring the fare, and recording the custom and right of different groups. The estimated revenues of each plot within a village was added up to calculate the revenue that each village, that is mahar, had to pay. This demand was to be revised periodically, not permanently fixed. The charges of collecting the revenue and paying it to the company was given to the village headman rather than the zamindar. This system came to be known as Maharwari settlement. Next, we have the Munro system. In the British territories in the south, there was a similar move away from the idea of permanent settlement. The new system that was introduced, came to be known as Rotwar or Rotwari. It was tried on a small scale by Captain Alexander Reid in some of the area that were taken over by the company after the war with Tipu Sultan. Subsequently developed by Thomas Munro, this system was gradually extended all over South India. Reid and Munro feel that in the south there were no traditional zamindar. The settlement, they argue, had to be made directly with the cultivator, that is Rot, who had tilled the land for generations. Their field had to be carefully and separately surveyed before the event's assessment was made. Munro thought that British should act as a paternal father figure protecting the road under their charge. So this is one of the picture of Thomas Munro, governor of Madras from 1819 to 26. So problem, excessive revenues demand. Within a few years after the new system was imposed, it was clear that all was not well with them. Driven by the desire to increase the income from land, revenues officers fixed too high a revenue demand, and peasants were unable to pay. Royd flee the countryside. The villages became deserted in many regions. Optimistic officers had imagined that the new system would transform the peasant into rich enterprising farmers, but this did not happen. So that is the conclusion of our discussion for today. In our next coming discussions, we will discuss crop for Europe, and for today let us stop